Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by Gulf Coast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gulf Coast Financial, your resource for a common sense approach to planning for your financial future. With us, as always, providing that information and guidance is the founder and CEO at Gulf Coast Financial Services, John Kuykendall. John, welcome back in.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to be here. I hope everything's going well with you, and I hope that your family's safe and well from this COVID-19.
Yeah. Still dealing with that, John. It just doesn't seem to be an issue that's going anywhere anytime soon. Putting a damper on life in general, and certainly having implications on the market and our financial lives as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's more and more, you're finding more and more that the businesses and some of the small businesses are having a really hard time during this time. The markets are very nervous, waiting for that second wave that everyone keeps talking about. And it seems like the cases are escalating, but, we're doing a lot more testing. And so we're going to find a lot more. But also, we are, I just read this morning where Hilton Head Beach, the beach is back open. People are flocking there, and they've had twice as many cases this week as they had the last week. So it's definitely picking up. It's not over yet.
The whole flatten the curve thing seems to be about overwhelming the healthcare system and flattening the number of people that all at once were hitting hospitals and needing medical treatment for this. It seems, John, that we were pretty successful in that measure, never intended as being something that was going to really address the underlying issue that this is a disease that is going to continue to spread and probably be here for quite some time.
Well, it's just like the regular flu that we get during the flu season. It's here. We have a vaccine, but it doesn't really protect you. It doesn't protect you against all the different strains.
Yeah, a different strain seems to come out every year. And sometimes it's the wrong vaccine for the particular strain of that year.
Yeah, and COVID-19 is probably going to mutate and come out again next year in a different kind. The healthcare system really handled the situation very well. We weren't overpowered by the number of people that were coming in. Plenty of beds, plenty of supplies. I think that, one of the things that we've learned is that we were kind of a on-demand supply company. So as we needed, we ordered. And I think now we're storing up a little more. I know at my house, we have plenty of toilet paper. So, in the event this happens again, we're not going to panic. But I think the country's adapted to it. But there is a lot of media about it. It is something that they can talk about, something that drives the news. And so that therefore makes the market nervous. But the market has reacted unbelievably since all this happened.
Indeed.
We've made a lot of money in the market since COVID-19, since it was introduced. So I think the market's handling it quite well. Are we going to have another turn down? Yeah, the market will naturally turn down at some point, but will it come back up? Yes, it always comes back.
Yep. Well, another kind of side effect of this is time has sort of blurred together, at least for me, John. And I know it was at least several weeks ago. It may have been even, a month or more ago where we watched Elon Musk and SpaceX launch that rocket to join with the International Space Station. And it got me thinking, as you sent over the notes that you had prepared for our topic of the day, that pilots have a checklist Pilots who fly very regularly may have done hundreds of flights, may have done thousands of flights. Every time they get ready to take off, they go down a very detailed checklist. And kind of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 blast off, the countdown for retirement is really on for all of us. And there are things that we're going to need to do, that we have to address, that we must understand in order to have a successful launch into and journey through retirement. And it wouldn't be very helpful for all of us if we had that same kind of checklist. Lucky enough, John, there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, you sort of are mission control and do indeed have a checklist.
Yeah, we do have a checklist that says, are you ready to retire? 12 steps that you can do to get ready for retirement, and things you need to think about. And it's right. How many times have you looked at the movie where they're on the airplane and the pilot's up front and he's going through, the rudders and all the different things to make sure that they all work before they fly? Don't you think that we should have some kind of checklist or some kind of plan before we do probably the second biggest thing, third biggest thing we're going to do in our life? The first was to get our first job. Then we get married, have kids, and then we retire. And so when we're in retirement, and retirement's longer now, 30 years plus for a lot of people, we need to make sure that we've got that checklist ready, that they understand how much money they're going to need, and how am I going to get paid during retirement?
Yep.
Because I don't get a paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this could be the longest financial phase of our lifetime. The pre-working career, maybe 20, 25 years. The working career, maybe 30, 35 years. Retirement can easily be 30 to 40 years plus in some cases. We need to be prepared because we're going to be making a lot of permanent, life-altering, lifelong decisions as we make this transition into retirement. And so having that checklist and having the guidance of a mission control, of a qualified team of professionals like what is provided there, voted best of the best in financial services by the Lake City Reporter 5 years running. The team there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, very qualified to provide you with that guidance. If you have questions, concerns, pick up the phone, give a call. If you'd like a copy of that checklist so that you can run down that in your own time, they're more than happy to provide that. 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. You can go online, gulfcoastfinancial.net. Another great resource there. But John, let's get into a few of these items that are on the checklist, maybe that a lot of people have not taken care of or addressed or even thought to do so, unfortunately, before making that transition into retirement or until they're right on the very doorstep of it.
Oh, sure. And the first one says, do you know how long you would be able to generate income you need if your paycheck stopped today?
Yeah.
A lot of people, they have good jobs. And in COVID-19, we saw that. We saw a lot of people that had to be going into unemployment, lost their jobs because their businesses or the businesses they work for shut down. We're going to see even more of that coming forward because I think as our society changes more to an online internet society and you do away with the shopping centers and the malls and the big department stores, some of the things, even some of the used car lots here in Lake City are having trouble getting inventory because the auctions are closed.
Yep.
So if that paycheck stopped today, how am I going to be able to generate money during my retirement or for my retirement? And a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. As we said, I think the number was 40% of all individuals who are drawing Social Security are living on Social Security alone. And I don't know about you, but I would hate to live on $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money. I talked to an individual this week, and it was an interesting situation. It was over a telephone interview, a Zoom meeting, and he was telling me that he has enough money to meet his daily living expenses, and he has money saved up. His 401k's in cash. It has been in cash since 2008.
Oh, wow.
And he hasn't Yeah, hadn't gotten back in the market, hadn't done anything, no plan, knows he needs to do better. And then he wants to buy a home, a second vacation home, and his wife doesn't. And so our approach to him was what I think it should be with everybody. Let's work up a plan that shows you that while you may have enough money right now, if we're going to buy a vacation home, there are going to be repairs and incidentals that you're going to need to do, increased real estate taxes, increased outgo, just keeping it up. Inflation, nobody saw, you maybe have enough money today, but are you going to have enough money in 10 or 15 years? Mm-hmm. Because no one worries about inflation. And so let's work up that plan and see how it all fits together, and then give you an approach to show how much you can spend on a second home if that's what you want to do. But let's don't just throw the whole thing into a second home because I want to get some return on my money.
Right. You
got to have a plan.
You run out and spend all of your retirement money in the first couple years, and what are you going to live for the rest of your life thereafter? Just because you have the money doesn't mean that it all can go out right now. There's going to be some ancillary costs and expenses, inflation, those things just associated with that. But then there's the rest of life and living expenses that we got to account for too. Again, I think the phrasing of this item, the top item on this checklist, John, is interesting because we're talking about a countdown to retirement, but this question doesn't necessarily have to pertain to retirement. If you lost your income, if you lost your job today, and the way that you discussed it was with the relevance of COVID-19, a lot of people were not planning on losing their job and their income today. So accident, sickness, furlough, shut down, layoff, whatever the case may be, that it has to be a possibility and a contingent in our plan at any time. Yet we're talking about counting down to retirement. That is a planned event where we anticipate leaving that paycheck behind and losing that income. And so if we want to make that transition as effectively and successfully as possible, I think that's when we now move down this checklist, but not until we address item number one, probably from the very get-go in our working career.
Oh yeah. I mean, number one should be at all ages.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't have to wait to retirement. From the day we begin work, we need to worry about how am I going to pay my bills if I don't have a job?
Yep.
I mean, you can't just assume you're going to be able to find employment. You know, number two on this checklist talks about the retirement income gap. Now, we've talked about that on this show before. And the income gap is how much is my Social Security, how much is my pension, the things that I know, the guaranteed checks or the monthly checks that I have coming in, and what are my expenses. And the difference between those is my income gap. And in most cases, there is a gap that we need to have more income. Very few people are able to have excess income looking at that. And so where is that money going to come from? And how am I going to set my buckets up so that I've got a growth bucket? But the other thing, I know that I've got a check coming in every month to fill that gap so that I don't have to worry about taking money out of my growth bucket when the market's down. And I'll make it, as under the sequence of returns, my money's not going to last as long. So that's one of the things that we need to look at, and one of the things we try to do here. And we've talked about that over and over again.
Is calculate out. There is a mathematical formula for identifying what your income gap is, also known as the amount that your personal savings, your life's work, your net worth, your investable assets and retirement accounts, how much is that going to need to generate for you into and throughout retirement? Have you calculated precisely what that number is, and then included things like inflation, like sequence risk, what cash flow you can generate? All of those go into that equation, and it's a process there at Gulf Coast Financial Services. And then, John, once we have identified that income gap, we can identify how much money is going to be necessary to fill that. And there are strategies that you implement there. There are certain tools and ways that you can structure the assets to do more with less and actually decrease the amount that is necessary to fill that income gap leaving more left over for discretionary assets to do those
Right.
things that we always think retirement's going to be about. Number 3 on your checklist, do you know how much you have in discretionary assets?
Well, that's right. And that's like the secondary home would be a discretionary asset.
Right.
I mean, how much can I spend on that home and still have my plan work? How much can I spend on my trip to Europe or wherever I want to go? We're early in our retirement. We want to be able to do the things that we want to do so that we can fulfill them. Later, we're not going to be able to go as much. And so we're going to want to spend more money early on, but we have to plan for that. And very few people plan, not only from the idea of how much discretionary money I have, but where am I going to get that money and how much is it going to cost me in taxes to get it?
Yep. Number 4 on this list, do you know if your portfolio is properly diversified to provide, and then there are several qualities here: growth, safety, liquidity, and income, kind of the top objectives with our money in our portfolio, but we have to diversify in order to achieve and accomplish all of them simultaneously.
Well, yeah, we can't put all of our assets in one stock, or we can't put all of our assets in cash. Cash is not going to keep up with inflation. We're losing purchasing power every day that we're in cash. And so what we have to do is we need to have enough risk that we can sleep at night, but we also have to have enough risk that my money's going to grow. My discretionary money's going to grow so that I'm able to do the things that I want to do. We need to look at long-term care in that, and how am I going to fund my long-term care? And that can be part of your asset plan, of your income plan, because we can give you a guaranteed income plus also give you a doubler for nursing home and for home health care. So there's a lot of components in that we look at, Peter. I mean, it's when we do a plan, we're not just looking at retirement. We're looking at taxes, Social Security. We're looking at long-term care, medical costs, Medicare, all the things, all the components that we have to have in order to make a good plan.
Number 5, do you hold at least annual reviews of your plan to assess if you've met previous goals and to set new goals and benchmarks? John, I'd say it's a pretty strong indicator if somebody has not had that review really here in the first half, in the first 6 months of 2020 with everything that's gone on. That's probably a pretty strong indicator. They are in need. They owe it to themselves to find a place to get a review, a second opinion, take a look at their financial situation and then their path toward their goals and objectives. And of course, you offer that there at Gulf Coast Financial Services.
Mm-hmm.
Give a call, ladies and gentlemen, 386-755-9018. It's a retirement planning review and strategy session, a second opinion service. If you've already got a plan, just get a pat on the back or some reassurance you're doing the right things, or and this is a good thing, spot and identify things that you do need to address. You'd rather know that ahead of time than have them unexpectedly bite you into the future. Number 6, John, have you formulated a plan to use Social Security and maximize that income to protect your personal assets? That really should be the number 1 goal of Social Security.
Oh, sure. And the one thing about it is, even though a lot of the ways to file have been eliminated, a couple of years ago, there's still ways that if you were married 10 years or longer, you can file on your divorced spouse. There are ways, if you're a widow, there's ways that you can draw on that Social Security and not affect yours. There are a lot of ways that we can still file and maximize Social Security for a couple, and we like to do that. We have software that handles that, Peter.
Yep, and the difference between an optimal decision or poor timing of your Social Security. Again, John, we hit on it at the beginning of the program. This is a decision that, for all intents and purposes, it sticks with us for life. There's only a very limited window to get a mulligan or a do-over on Social Security. You don't want to look back on that one and say, oh, that was a big mistake, because it's going to have reverberations and repercussions even beyond your own lifetime. If you are married and there's spousal income dependency there, that Social Security, it is not the job of the folks down at the Social Security Administration office, John, to provide advice. They don't take on the liability because they don't know your situation. Their job is to file the paperwork on the day that you show up, not tell you if it's the best day to show up. And so doesn't something that it took you a lifetime of working your whole career to build toward, and then is going to have lifetime implications, doesn't that deserve some time and attention of an hour investment to make sure you're making a good decision?
Oh, sure, Peter. And the thing about it is, in the last 10 years, we've probably come further in understanding and giving advice to people about how to draw Social Security, what's the best way. A lot of people forget that when one spouse dies, you're going to lose one check.
Yeah.
So, you're going to take the largest, and in a lot of cases, the largest isn't any bigger than the other one. So, we're going to lose half our income, between 40 and 50% of our monthly income, at the death of a spouse. Don't you think it behooves us to get the most we can get in order so that we can have a little bit more income? It means a lot of money in a lifetime, and there's no reason. It doesn't take that long to do it. I wish we were where we are now when I filed for Social Security, because I filed at my full retirement age because I knew I wouldn't be penalized for my earnings, but nobody told me to wait till 70, which really wasn't that much longer, and I would get a lot more money. It's just amazing. I could have actually filed on my wife's and not drawn mine, but nobody told me.
You were a little bit before some of those law changes.
I was before the curve.
Yeah.
I was before the law changes, but I was still eligible to do that. But we didn't have the technology. We didn't have the software to do it. Now we do. And anyone that doesn't take advantage of that is making a big mistake in my way I feel.
Well, a couple others on this checklist here. In fact, several others on this checklist here, John. And I'll perhaps let you pick and choose a couple that you feel are important to expand on. But have you calculated how much income would be lost if you or your spouse pass away? That's what you're referring to there, with the one Social Security disappearing, maybe even a pension. A pension can be the same way. Do you know the cash flow rate your portfolio will need to generate in order to meet your retirement needs? That certainly has been called into question and scrutinized here over the past 10 years or so. Here's maybe one that I think is pretty important. Do you know the percent of your working career income that you will need to replace in order to support your lifestyle and retirement? I think, John, a lot of people are widely underestimating this number.
Well, I think, Peter, in the old days, we used to say that it was 70 to 75% of whatever you were earning is what you needed in retirement. I got to tell you, with inflation the way it is and the cost of living, it's almost, you need dollar for dollar. I mean, a lot of people, or maybe even more based on healthcare costs.
Well, I do more on the weekends, and retirement to me, it's like every day's a Saturday.
I play golf 5 days a week. I need money for this. I need money for that. You're going to want to travel. You want to go to places. You're not going to spend less. The only thing is you're going to make less. So we need to make sure that what we've built up in retirement, what we have our assets earning for us, is the maximum that we can get from them.
Yep. Well,
yep,
go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that we cannot forget the cost of healthcare and inflation in our plan, because dollars are going to cost more as we go on. Ice cream goes up every week at the grocery store almost. I mean, if you can find it. Yep. So the things that you want are going to cost more. Even though you're not working, you're still going to need clothes. So don't forget about that inflation factor when you're building this report.
Yep. Well, again, if you would like this checklist, and there are many additional items on the checklist, more than we're going to have time to cover on today's program. And it's really just the tip of the iceberg in creating and crafting your specific plan. But you need to have addressed every item on this checklist, I feel, to transition into retirement confidently. Are you ready to retire? I think a lot of us would say mentally and emotionally yesterday. Financially, you need to answer all of the questions on this checklist, culminating here in do you have a retirement income allocation plan in writing? And I know that's part of the process there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, helping people walk through every item on this checklist and then making sure they've got that kind of plan that they can turn to, that they can count and rely on, that they can have confidence in, helping them understand what their retirement forecast, what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important. We want to make sure that everybody walks away with a plan that they can take. It's a living, breathing document, as we say, and we need to review it. We need to look at it every year, not just prior to retirement, but even after retirement, we need to look at it. And it's something that as laws change and as, we've had the Secure Act, the SAFE Act, we've had all these acts, that may affect your retirement or the distribution of your assets upon your death. That's why we need to review these plans constantly.
Yeah, well, if you would like the checklist, if you would like a planning review, if you would like to structure that plan, if you don't have one or you do have one and want to troubleshoot it or look at updating it and reviewing it, pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. If you'd like this checklist, if you're ready to retire for the countdown to retirement that we are all on. And by the way, plenty of additional resources that we'll probably cover in the next several weeks here. 5 planning mistakes to avoid, 4 approaches to addressing those long-term care concerns, the 3 biggest expenses in retirement. Be sure to tune in for future episodes to get those. But if you'd like this checklist or even the full packet of the countdown to retirement, pick up the phone, give Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, start the conversation there. 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. John, really, if anybody answered no to any of those questions posed on this checklist, it's an indicator it's time for that complimentary review.
Oh, yeah, Peter, I agree with that. And I don't want you to forget that at our website, www.gulfcoastfinancial.net, there is a thing on there, our podcasts are on there, but also we have our Coffee Talk videos.
Yep.
And we talk about different regulations and things off the cuff, kind of just sitting over a cup of coffee. So be sure and check those out.
Yeah, great resources there on the website. A tremendous amount of traffic. I think you are something like 600% above the industry average in the number of visitors that go to that website. I think that's testament for the resources that are included there and the job that your team is doing in letting folks know about them. But GulfCoastFinancial.net, it is a .net domain name, GulfCoastFinancial.net. You always have to remind folks, the .com is where everybody goes. This one's a .net, GulfCoastFinancial.net, or give a call, 386-755-9018. John, always a pleasure. We appreciate you being mission control here on our countdown to retirement.
Thank you, Peter. It was great being here. Have a good week.
Always a pleasure. And I know John is looking forward to helping you address questions, answering those questions, addressing concerns, identifying areas where you can be more efficient with your money. He is here to help and assist. Looking forward to speaking to you. 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. We'll talk to you soon.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services, Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.